Calgary prides itself on its entrepreneurship carried on the backs of a lot of small business owners. So a little guidance along the way sure does help. He is the president of Blue Neck Alberta, Peter Baran. Am I saying it right, Peter?
Baran.
Baran. Peter Baran. Peter, there are a lot of small businesses here in the city that are looking for advice because some of them aren't doing the right things for the most part, and you've recognized that.
Well, we have, and I've come from a very small business background. My family had a small business, and when I got out in the world, I ended up working for large companies for a lot of the work that we did. We're now moving back and helping out the small businesses because that's kind of where my heart's from, and also it's really a critical part of the economy. Most of the employment that happens in Calgary comes from small businesses, and unfortunately, a lot of those small businesses don't survive to year 5. Some of the stats in the industry is that 40% of small businesses that start up don't survive their first 5 years. And that's really sad because those guys have got great ideas, they've got passion, they really want to make the business work, but they miss a couple of key elements, and it's really sad to watch it happen again and again.
And it's not just a great idea that's going to garner you success. There's a lot more involved. Some tips along the way to help some of these small business owners because they're desperate to know what they're doing wrong.
Well, what they're doing right, first of all, is that they've got a lot of passion for what they want to do.
Sure.
So to move beyond just the passion, you've got to think about running a business. And running a business is not just about doing what you love to do, it's about doing all the other things behind the covers that will make it work. One of the things that I find missing in most small businesses is they don't really have a good plan. And a strategic plan is not about putting a budget together and setting out how much you're going to make and how much you're going to spend. Most guys know how to do that, and you can find lots of information that on the websites and their forums. What's missing is the strategy. And the strategy is really a key link between what they want to be able to do and how they're going to be successful at doing that. So that linkage between their dreams and their plans is really the strategy part.
Right.
That's what's missing.
So where does a business owner begin? I mean, it's interesting because you're right, because a lot of business owners do have the passion. They do have the idea. But where do they go next? Do they, I mean, is it listing all of the things that they need to accomplish? Are there goal setting? Fill in some of the blanks. Well,
there's kind of two things that I always do with people. One of them is to get them to think about what is their key mission? So why are they existing and what do they want to do? And thinking about a mission is not just about thinking about what you want and what your family wants out of the business. Most people can do that pretty easily. The mind shift has to be, what is it that you're going to do that's going to be valuable to your clients? So thinking about how you're going to positively affect the lives of your clients and your customers. How are you going to make their life better, their life more convenient? How are you going to become an important part of their life, even if it's a small part of that life, even if you're running a coffee shop? How do you make that 5 or 15 or 20 minutes of time that they're in that coffee shop valuable?
You also want to differentiate yourself as well too, because with any small business owner, what you realize that there's also competitors. So competitors have a certain way of doing things. You better find that certain way of doing things, or else you're not going to be around much longer.
Well, you have to be a little bit different. There's no question about that. But there's a lot of examples of things that are just slightly different, but executed very well. And that difference in execution is the second thing that you start to move from. Once you've figured out how you're going to affect people's lives, you've got to figure out how you're going to do that better than the next guy. For example, if I walk down through downtown core of Calgary, on every corner there is a coffee shop. Some of them are owned by multinationals, some of them by regionals, some of them by individuals.
Just locals, yeah.
You betcha. And all of them are doing business. Some of them are surviving for a long period of time because what they do in their location, first of all, is a good experience, but they do it really well. And doing it really well, and the execution part of it is probably the most important thing. I spent time on public boards over my career. And one of the things that I learned about that is that coming up with great ideas is really easy and cheap to do. Executing them and doing that execution really well makes the difference between just being in business and just surviving and thriving and being very successful. If you can look at what you do, come up with a slightly different value to that, and figure out how that's going to connect to your customer set and to your clients, and then execute that really well day in and day out, that's what makes a huge difference.
Then you have a chance.
Then you have a really good chance.
And especially with a city like this that continues to grow, it's amazing. Thank you for the business advice. This was wonderful. We have to get you on again because this is just fascinating how much more information I'm sure a lot of small business owners would like. By the way, you can find Pete's article in the Brighter Business Empower magazine. It's issue number 4 under 5 worst business strategies. So he talked about strategies, but there are some bad ones too. Again, Brighter Business Empower magazine, where you can find that information. Pete, thank you very much for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
He is the president of Blue Neck Alberta, Pete Baran. Here is what's happening in and around our city, because there is plenty, including Alberta Ballet. They present the entire company premiere of Don Quixote as the first production of the 2014-2015 season, September 25th through 27th at SAIT. For more tickets and information, call for more tickets. Yeah, you'll want more tickets. Call 403-245-4549 or ticket.albertaballet.com. This is Trending on